Hey, everybody. My name is Jennifer Fry, and welcome to Disruptor Discussions Masterclass Season 2. I'm super excited to have you guys here today and see some really friendly faces in our audience. I'm super excited you guys are part of this. And I'm so excited for this guest, who I will introduce in a moment. But first, I'd love to give you guys a little background. Um, like I said, this is Season 2. So I started Disruptor Discussions last year because our mission at Appreciated Asset, which is my business, is to create a ripple effect for incredible business solutions and helping them grow their footprint through our help, through our service. And as I've grown my business and, you know, also grown my network with some incredible humans, what I realized is that the disruptors out there, the industry disruptors that were there, were helping businesses grow through their own expertise, not necessarily through what we do, but through their own area of subject matter expertise. So what I wanted to do is create a stage, which is part of our purpose, is really creating a stage to highlight industry disruptors. And I wanted to really create that stage here with you all, where we can every single week bring on a different expert to talk about how their expertise and their unique knowledge helps businesses grow. And there's a lot of different ways that we've shown our audience a lot of new ideas to help your businesses grow. Because here's the thing, and I have yet to have someone argue with me on this, and there's very few things I say that no one argues, but here's the deal, you guys. There are zero business problems that more revenue cannot solve. Zero. Whatever you are dealing with in your business, it can be fixed if you have the revenue to support the fix. Whether that's more training, better team, better tech, better systems, maybe time off, right? Like there's zero problems in a business that can't be solved with this. So knowing that, bringing on all of these incredible minds to share how their expertise does that, we're super excited to have you here, Ellen. Before I talk about how incredible this human is, I like to give you guys a little news about what we've got going on, as well as a disruptor hack. That's a new thing that I'm incorporating this season. So first is what's new. We are off next week. I will be chaperoning my son's 5th grade field trip to Washington, D.C., and I'm super excited, a little nervous. I think doing this show would be much easier than what I'm about to go out and do, but I'm super excited and grateful that I can do that with him. So we'll be off next week. We'll be back in 2 weeks, and at the end of the show, I'll tell you guys about who our next guest is. And then disruptor hack. So I love a good life hack. I love a good business hack, because I think once you find one that really works for you, you realize that you've been making things so much harder on yourself than you've needed to for however long that you've needed to. So, I like to share these because rather than like keep them secret, everyone can benefit, hopefully. Obviously, everyone knows about grocery delivery. That was like a total lifesaver during COVID, and as a new mom, that was great. And I've been doing that for a long time. But I recently really started diving into what errands that I needed to run that could be skipped by using more delivery services. So I had a conference that I had to go to a couple of weeks ago, and I needed just like acrylic boards, and I needed 2 of them. It was so stupid that I didn't get them in advance. But of course, here we are, day of. And had I needed to go out and get those for myself, it would have taken me about easily an hour, probably an hour and a half that day, that I just did not have in my schedule. So I was able to just source through a DoorDash to get those 2 items. It was like a $20 thing delivered to me. I think it cost me, a small amount extra in delivery fees, but to save me the hour and a half on a day that was already incredibly busy was so simple. And I looked back and I was like, how many other times have I had to like rush through or squeeze in or freak out about errands like this that easily could have been that? It is such a simple thing, but see where you are spending your time running around, that you can actually have things just delivered to you same day. It's for when you don't have the time for Amazon to get that delivery done. It was a game changer for me. So I hope that's helpful, just as an easy reminder. I am so excited to introduce Ellen Melko Moore for you all. Some of you know her, I know. I'm going to read you her bio, but before I do, I'll tell you, Ellen and I connected through a women's networking group that we're both part of. Man, I just meet the most incredible women through this group. And we connected, I would say, instantaneously. What I love about Ellen is she is here to serve. She is incredibly successful and incredibly humble, which is a balance that I strive for. But Ellen just embodies the ability to really master your craft and also be incredibly generous with that mastery. And she is a friend and a colleague and a power partner and all of those things, but she shows up in such a genuine way. Again, I just admire this so much about you, Ellen. She has zero there. Ellen puts on no airs. Like, what you see is what you get. She's incredibly genuine, authentic. There's just, that would be you next to authentic in the dictionary, would be your picture, because you are so comfortable with who you are and you make everyone around you comfortable for that. So again, I just want you to know how much I adore you.
Thank you. That's lovely. Thank you.
Okay. Forget about what Jen Fry says. Forbes calls Ellen Melko Moore America's top LinkedIn thought leader. She's done brand consulting for Oprah Winfrey, the American Marketing Association, and the Zappos guys. As a niche and positioning expert, Ellen and her business partner, Mark Fewsmith, have helped over 600 business practices, agency owners multiply revenue by 3x to over 30x. A lifelong fan of literary fiction, cultural studies, and hip hop, as we heard, Ellen is grateful to be here on the planet and at the same exact time as all of you. Gosh, that's so beautiful. So Ellen, I'm going to hand things over to you to give us a little background, and then I think we're going to do a bit of a back and forth today, rather than standard presentation. Tell us about who you are and how you help the world, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, I'm so excited to do this. But first, I'm going to ask that Firefly's AI note taker of Jeff either be viewed, admitted, or X'd, because I can't actually see because it's over.
I can, Joey, you got that?
Yeah. Just because, yeah, and no offense to Jeff and his Firefly's note taker. I just want to be able to see past it, because I probably shouldn't be the one admitting or rejecting it. There we go. Okay, perfect. Jen, that's such a lovely introduction. Thank you so much. It's just beautiful. It really makes me feel good. I appreciate it. Yeah, I was a class clown type of person, so I didn't have much access growing up to kind of impressing others with mask, let's just say. Like I would have if I could have, I'm sure. But I didn't. So kind of that probably is where a lot of that comes from. So just so your audience knows, because sometimes people hear me talk and they're like, what is this bitch slap of truth? What does it have to do with LinkedIn? And, wait a minute, what's happening here? So I always tell people it's important, I'm a recovering escaped academic. I started out as I taught English at the University of Denver, something called the rhetoric of persuasive voice, which is, words about persuading people, and creative nonfiction, creative fiction, etc. And I really needed a way to pay my student loans for my super expensive 3 private universities that I attended, which was kind of silly, but I did. So, and I love teaching, but I just feel like there's a lot about dynamics in universities that I didn't really care for. So a friend of mine from my PhD program and I started out, we thought, well, we'll start this company for people in book clubs, in book groups. And at the time, there was 4 or 5 million of those people in the English speaking world, perhaps more. And this is like the beginning of the internet, right? So it's the wild, wild west of like true wild west of internet, digital marketing, all that kind of stuff. And then other people said, hey, you all had that successful business and you have that teaching background. Can you teach me to do what you guys did? And I thought, well, I don't know if I can or not, because I don't know what it was we did. And I figured out over some time, I had to study with some other mentors to kind of really break this down. But like, it all comes down to if you are willing to choose a specific niched, targeted audience, you can go faster than anyone. And yet people have such psychological resistance to it. I think we all do because it's scary. It's like, oh, I'm choosing this person or this niche, which means I'm, rejecting everyone else. And so we found that let's say we've got somebody, for example, I want to think of a person. Okay, so let's say we've got somebody who's got, for instance, like a publishing company, a hybrid publishing company, and they've been working with coaches and consultants. Well, a lot of coaches and consultants might have trouble being able to pay for like what it really costs to get a good book written, published, marketed, all that stuff. But if we take that same expert and we now aim what they're doing at, say, agency owners who have at least 5 employees up to 200, now we're working with a whole different budget. And so we found that we could start this process on LinkedIn, and people would be more willing to do it on LinkedIn just because they felt like, it's just my LinkedIn profile, right? It didn't seem like as serious as changing your YouTube channel or your website, any of that stuff. So I found people were willing to use their LinkedIn profiles to test new niches, new messaging, new articulation. And then the final step is the bitch slap of truth. So what does that mean? It means once you understand your target audience and you want to make that your most lucrative target audience. Now, who's that? Well, your most lucrative target audience is your audience that has the biggest budget, right? They have to have a budget to be able to pay for you. We call that ATP, ability to pay. And it has to be someone who has high ETP, which is eagerness to pay, meaning they are going to pay to solve this problem. So once you know who this person is, your target, we call it most lucrative client. Now you can figure out exactly what they are being told by every single one of your important competitors. You can always find the trends, the ideas, sometimes the myths that are popular. And when I say now, I'm talking like spring 2025. I'm not talking about summer 2024. You have to kind of stay up with the trends in your industry and what people are talking about. And once you got to that part, now you can disrupt, disruptor discussions. You can disrupt or challenge the entire narrative of your industry, because we know from a sales perspective that people are much more likely to listen and eventually buy from you if you are the person who challenges a dominant narrative. And we use LinkedIn to get all that set up. The end. That's that. There you go. That's the whole thing.
I love that. I've learned so much from you in that realm, because I have become a lot more bold, believe it or not, be more bold, and create a lot more clarity around who I am, but also who I am not.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, repelling is like if you aren't doing equal repelling with attracting. I know it sounds weird maybe to some people, but like it learning how to repel successfully is important too.
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. I'm going to
Oh,
ask you a couple questions. We're going to start kind
sure.
of broad, and then we're going to bring it back towards LinkedIn.
Okay. I
Um,
hope your audience doesn't mind. I'm an 80s baby, so I'm going to be intermittently chugging my Diet Coke. So hopefully they'll be okay with that.
no
So I'd love
problem.
to answer
This is
questions.
probably not vodka, so we're cheers.
Probably. I mean,
Probably. No problem.
it is a Wednesday, so who knows?
Afternoon on the East Coast, so I think we're good.
Oh,
All
yeah.
right, you guys. Ellen, what's the biggest problem with building a powerful brand and next level business this year? Because this has been a tumultuous start to the year, I think, for a lot.
Yeah, it's been, I mean, I would say, I think a friend you and I both know, Jennifer Fry, she said it so perfectly. Deb Boulanger
Mm-hmm.
said something I was just like, ah, yeah, that's it. You know, trust is at an all-time low. Skepticism is at an all-time high.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things we've been tracking kind of month to month to month, really since I've been tracking it since 2018. And the reason I use that year is because 2018 is the year that the online course like went bust. And by that, I don't mean that people can't sell online courses, but like from 2013 to 18, we had this period where everyone was like, online courses, you have to have one. And then about 2018, 19, people just hit this limit because they had taken too many $10,000 online courses that did not deliver the goods. And I mean, that may not have been the creator's fault either. We don't know. But anyway, that was an experience a lot of people had. So then we have the pandemic and everything switches to kind of this other model. And now, what I always want people to understand is like, if something isn't going right in your business, it might feel personal, right? I don't know, the gods or the universe doesn't want you to succeed, or you're just doing the wrong thing. But often it's really just a really simple matter of market economics. So we've got a glutted marketplace with certain kinds of products and services. We don't necessarily have more consumers for those things. In fact, we have fewer consumers because, again, people are burnt out on, they've tried a lot of things, they've spent a lot of money, and so a lot of people are just kind of discouraged. So I think the demand for our eyeballs, our attention is at an all-time high so far, could get more so. And then of course we've got the other monster galloping in the last 18 months, which is AI and AI content. And let me just say for the record, like when anyone is reading or creating AI content without, you know, real person edits, like we can tell. We can tell. So that's an instant. Like as soon as I see like those AI phrases popping up, like here's the thing, colon. Like if you have a more sophisticated audience, they don't want to be talked to by AI. So you can use it for sure, but just make sure you come along and tidy up afterwards, is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. I've always found that the posts that I create based on real experience, real thought, and it can be expanded, right, through those sorts of tools.
Mhm.
Those are the ones that get the engagement more, like it's not even more, it's apples and oranges that get the attention as opposed to the more generic vanilla.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's so true. I mean, I think like humor is so underused on LinkedIn, and so is just personal. I mean, people, I understand they want to keep their LinkedIn, professional, but just, again, not being inappropriate, but being more personal,
Yeah.
more real. Absolutely. And it works better on LinkedIn almost than anywhere because like people are used to being sort of authentic, as they call it, as we call it on Facebook,
Hmm.
but not on LinkedIn. And so, people are just get tired of reading this boring, generic corporate crap or this like barely disguised, poorly disguised sales promo stuff. And that's what most content on LinkedIn is, by the way. It's either like, come buy my stuff, do my stuff, look at my stuff. Or then like, I swear to gosh, if I see another post that starts out with like, so excited to introduce so and so to the team, it's like, Am I allowed to swear here,
Yeah,
Jennifer? I'm
yeah.
like, bitch, I don't care. I don't know you and I don't know so and so. Like, this is such a poor use of your social media. Like, if you want me to get excited about so and so, give me a reason. Let's lead me in here a little bit. I don't care about your excitement. Are you putting effort into exciting me? No, you're not.
So that's such a good lead into the next question I had for you, which is what are the biggest mistakes that most experts are making, like in their marketing to their most lucrative audience, like right now? Is it that like just trying to be everything to everyone and capture them inside that? Where do you think people are going
I
wrong?
think, yeah, it's very difficult to kind of write or create or film or record for everyone. Like, if you don't have some idea who that is. So, like, what plays the best are things that sound like personal conversations. So just remember, like, think about it like if I were trying to talk to you, Jennifer, but to all the other people listening to this at the same time, right? I mean, I could do it, but this interview wouldn't sound the same if I was trying to speak to everybody. So I do think target is super important. But then the next thing is, like, it absolutely stuns me, like, how much time we could give everyone back over the past 15 years if we said, hey, spend 99% of your time coming up with your title or your hook or your first line to your post, and then spend 1% of your time creating it. And I'm exaggerating, but like literally the just it freaks me out thinking about the 95% of content that is generated, however it gets generated, that no one will ever read. Because what people do is they create it and then they sort of stuff a title, headline, subject line, first line, and it's just a complete waste of time because nobody who doesn't already like you is going to read that unless you put effort into what we call hooks, which are just the beginning of whatever that stuff is. And I'm not, I mean, they can be clickbaity too, but I'm just talking about some effort to encourage someone like, hey, come on over here. I got something to show you. You
Yeah.
know, I
And
think
something
that's,
different, right?
yeah,
Something
exactly.
different. I think that's one of the things, we do a lot of sales trainings, and
Mm,
a lot of the feedback that we get is just I've never heard training like this.
yeah.
You gave me things to consider that I've never thought about before. And I think, like you said, there's so many courses, there's so much content, there's so much out there that's like recycled.
Yeah.
It's having that original idea and getting it out there, that gets attention. It gets people's attention.
Well, we know on LinkedIn that 74% of people are going to buy when they are ready to buy.
Yeah.
They're going to buy from the first person who changes their perspective about something. 74% of the time. That is insane. So what does that mean? Well, that means that again, if you're sort of hearing from many other people like, oh, everyone's doing this now, right? But if I happen to be the person who makes you think about LinkedIn differently, for example, hopefully I can, maybe I can't, but if I am and I show you a different way to look at it, 74% of the time that that money is going to come to me. And so I have to be very cognizant of what everyone else in the space is saying because I want you to think differently because of how I'm presenting. So, in the same thing with sales pipelines, if everyone is presenting sales pipelines, and when I say everyone, I mean like at a certain time, like there's what's being said about sales right now, spring 2025, that would be different than exactly what was being said in spring of 23, right? If you are telling a different story and approaching it a different way, then people, they'll know if they think of you, that what they'll automatically think about is, oh, Jennifer Fry is the one who taught me how to think about this differently. And
Mhm.
that automatically gives you currency. So really think, folks, about being a teacher in this space and shifting perspective. On a profile, a LinkedIn profile, we like to say top half teaches, bottom half preaches.
I love that.
And that basically means use the top half of your profile. You don't need to talk about yourself. You don't need to explain who you are. Use that top half to teach us something cool. And then you can use the bottom half, that's like your experience and your testimonials and all that stuff to show how wonderful you are. Because I'm not going to waste time at the top of my profile telling you how wonderful I am because you don't care. You don't know me.
Let everyone
I want
else
to know if
talk.
you're going to learn from me.
Yeah,
Something useful. Yeah.
I love it. Well, why do you think most LinkedIn profiles or most like kind of online digital footprints um aren't attracting the high fee clients, aren't generating the real momentum that people are putting in effort? I see
Oh,
people.
so much effort. That's the worst part. Yeah, I think first off, like 9 out of 10 profiles, when I look at them, I do not understand who the target client is, and I do not understand how to actually interact with the person. So I was looking at one from somebody who's quite well known. I think you could even see semi-famous yesterday. And if I didn't know who this person was, I would have no idea how he wanted me to interact with him. Like I wouldn't understand what is the expertise. So you'll see people using these kind of abstract phrases like business magnifier. What is that? I do not know. I'm not familiar with that term. Like, and I'm not trying to make fun. I'm just saying it's like, uh, okay, is your target client, saying, you know what? I just really need my business magnified. I need to find a magnifier. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it
It's a great adjective. It's a great
it
description.
sounds cool. You can put it on your business card, but
Yeah, I
I don't know
understand.
what it means. And so like instead of profiles or content where it's super clear who the target audience is and it's super clear what the transformation you're going to provide, and it's super clear that there's an opinion or a bitch slap of truth perspective being offered. And that's really interesting too. You can just ask yourself, hey, can someone look at my content and in 2 to 3 seconds really get the opinion or perspective I'm sharing? Or are we wasting time talking about, because we've been taught to do this, by the way, are we wasting time with the old model of LinkedIn or social media where it's look how wonderful I am, which
Yeah,
is what we've been taught to do. So again, I'm not criticizing anyone for doing that. It's what you've been taught, but it's a waste. It's a
it's
waste.
time to put it
Save,
up.
save that for later. Yeah. Hmm.
So why do you think LinkedIn is the best place to start narrowing in on that the most lucrative audience that you talk about? Because when you're talking about like generating, I love it, your bitch slap of truth. Oh my gosh, I love this. And I think we're really honing in on mine. I do feel like
I think so
every
too. Yeah.
time you and I talk, I get more and more clarity. Um, and I got to tell you guys, it's not just because she tells me the answer. No one knows my business better than I do. Ellen knows.
Oh,
So
yeah.
she helps guide you towards your answer. So seriously, we'll share her contact information. But guys, at the end of this, reach out and set up a time to speak with her because Ellen's amazing.
Oh, and we also do have, I don't know if you can include it in the show notes or whatever.
Yeah. Oh
We
yeah.
have a gift that'll actually take people through the steps if
I
they're
love
interested.
I love it. But why
Um,
do you think LinkedIn is the best place? You had mentioned it's
okay.
because it's like a good place to experiment, but when do you know?
Okay, great question.
Like the first
So
person?
first off, like we always want to start with getting your LinkedIn in shape because it's your home base. Like think of it as your base camp or your base camp at the bottom of the mountain if you want to use that analogy. What does that mean? It means every time someone Googles your name or searches your name on ChatGPT, your LinkedIn profile comes up ahead of anything. It comes up above your website, any other social media name, because Microsoft owns LinkedIn and Microsoft owns a big chunk of OpenAI ChatGPT. So the LinkedIn profile, your personal profile, that is going to come up first for the foreseeable future until the economics of those things I just described changed. So that means there is no point in putting all this effort into all this other stuff if you're not going to kind of line up your profile just because people are going to see it first, right? And then the second thing, when I
Oh,
see,
the internet. You're teaching the internet what to think of you.
yeah, you are. And again, of course, someone could skip over your profile and go to your website, but I'm just saying, like, theoretically, that is going to happen. And here's another thing. People who are like a lot of my clients have very high level people as their clients. So obviously, the CEO of a Fortune 500 company isn't going to be sitting around on LinkedIn all day, like, hey, what's going on? Like really, obviously, high powered people aren't doing that. But what they are doing is they or someone who works for them knows to use LinkedIn to research you, and they know they'll find out more about who you really are than they will on your website. So, because people are much more inclined to sort of make it look pretty on a website, but they're much less likely to kind of lie egregiously on a profile, just because it's sort of like still has that stamp of like you're right? And so
Yeah.
anyway, okay, and then the testing piece is once you get a profile set up correctly, and that means I can look at your banner and your headline, and in seconds, I'm talking 2 seconds, I know who your target client is. I know what your opinion or perspective is, and I know how to interact with you. That means that the rest of there, we can test the profile by sending out 10 connection requests in a very specific way that we do this, using no automation, because eventually LinkedIn will catch your ass and shut you down.
Mhm.
If you're sending out 10 connection requests to like your absolute right target client, you should be getting 9 acceptances out of 10. Like, don't listen to any of this 5 out of 10 nonsense. That just means like you're not dialed in yet. And secondly, we should see people not just accept your connection request, but pretty quickly start talking to you.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean you have to have a sales conversation, but it does mean like you landed. Does that
Yeah.
make sense? And so like we can
You're going to
A/B
spark
test.
curiosity, right? I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, 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 please.
Get so jacked up. Because you're going to spark curiosity in someone else, right? What
Yeah,
you say will resonate for them. And if it does, then that will spark conversation.
correct. And I can A/B test it. So I could have, again, the other thing I love about LinkedIn profiles is you can change it 8,000 times a day and no one cares. No
Right.
one will ever write back to you and say, yesterday you said you were a business magnifier, but today you said you're a business architect. What is going on here? Like that's never, ever, ever going to happen. So go nuts. And I'll A/B test headlines. So like when I'm looking for my best and brightest, I'll have it one way. I'll send out 10 connection requests, then I'll change it. I'll send
Yeah.
out 10 more to, the same type of person at the same rank and position and someone who's active on LinkedIn, all that stuff. And I can see which tests better, just by whether or not how they respond to it.
Yeah.
So I love that. And it's like lots of times I have ideas that in the privacy of my own brain I think are really good. And then later I put them out in the marketplace and I'm like, oof. Yeah, that didn't really work.
Yeah.
So I love testing and I love that you can do it so quickly on LinkedIn.
Yeah. And what I like about it is we made a change once that I sat with it for about 24 hours. I was like, no, it's not it. It didn't feel right to me.
Yeah.
I went back towards what I had before, but then tweaked the second part,
Hmm.
and that was it. And that's what we had. So I really like that you're right. If you put it up there, it's not like a social media post even
No, it isn't.
where you're like, oh my God, oh my God. It's something that you can play with until the A/B testing I like, but it's also until it really resonates for you and
Yes.
feels like this is it, like this is the alignment.
You said it, Jen. It's like it has to have that resonance for both, right? It has to feel authentic to you and it has to help people who are coming to you resonate and understand. And that's what good communication of any kind for human beings does, right? It feels good to us, it feels authentic to us. And then
And
someone else has the chance of understanding. So if you think of LinkedIn, I'm kind of saying two different things. Like on the one hand, I'm saying, oh, when people Google or chat GPT, they're going to see this profile. So it's so important. But on the other hand, I'm saying, but change it 50 times a day because no one cares. And it's a sandbox. It's your chalkboard. It's your rough draft that you can continue to refine and iterate as you grow along with your business identity. I actually work on mine every couple weeks, meaning I make little changes and tweaks, not because I have to, but because I like, oh, I really want to talk about this now, or I really want to focus on this idea. And I think what happens for most people is they put up their profile one time because they had to, because they were told they, in order to be alive and have your human card not taken away, if you're a professional, you've got to have a LinkedIn profile. And then they, did it once and that's it. And they never look at it again. And
Yeah.
energetically, that's also not the greatest thing.
Yeah.
You can
But
you can
still,
tell when stuff feels 2017. Let's put it that way.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because your business does not look the same as it did 3
Um,
years ago.
yeah.
I love that. What do you think? What's the easiest way for someone to go upgrade their personal profile like today? So if they're going to go out today, and what do we look at? Our bio first, the headlines. It's you said the band.
So it's the banner headline combo. So the banner is the big thing above your head, at the very top of the profile, and then your headline are the words right underneath your face, right? Can I show an example?
Yeah.
Would
Yeah.
that be okay? Let me,
Please do.
do I have share capability? Let me, because I think it's always nice when you can see something. Oh, look at Henry's. This one's so good. I love this one. Okay, so couple examples here. This is the banner, the thing behind your face. And this is a great place to start because remember when people are on a phone, they're going to be scrolling. They're going to see this first, and it's going to take up like a big portion of their phone. So that's what that part is. And then the headline is a nice one because you can fix that anytime. You don't have to have it transformed. Meaning, sorry, you don't have to like a graphics or a Canva person make the banner. The headline you can just fix yourself. So I love this example because it's super clear what Henry does. He's the agency owner book guy. Here's the transformation he provides. He takes his clients from agency owner to agency rainmaker. And then as we get into the profile, we can find out pretty quickly what's Henry's perspective? What's his bitch slap of truth to agency owners about why or why not do a book? So I would say that headline banner is just a great place to start. This is Brian Lang. He is a tax expert and wealth advisor, and also serves as a fractional CFO. So we have a perspective happening up here in the banner. We've got Brian, his very authentic picture, which I love, instantly communicates he might not be quite like your typical tax guy. And
Sure.
his headline is making it super clear who the target audience is. I love it when people put numbers in this, by the way, like when people are like, hey, it's this many employees or it's about this revenue range, like that's super helpful. And you don't have to be scared to do that. It's not like you're being high and mighty. You're basically just saying, hey, this is a position that we serve. So hopefully those are relatively.
And he also like I love the descriptor there. It says helping the working wealthy.
Yeah.
Like that's not a combination of words that you see often.
We
And so
decided, yeah,
that's
my ear, so like my weird gift, like my weird autistic gift is I can hear when things sound a certain way. And the first time he used those words kind of casually in a sentence, I was like, that right there, it like just like you picked up on, Jen, like that is the gold.
yeah.
Because people, for some strange reason, don't like being referred to as high wealth, high fee. Like I'm like, I wouldn't like that. I wouldn't like that if I was just going around the world and people were like, here's this high wealth person like that. So working wealthy, I think it's just a much healthier, appealing description.
Got
I
a lot of clarity, but it's also a unique combination of descriptors.
correct. And we're always looking for that. For a bitch slap of truth, we're always looking for something that kind of wakes people up. So there's nothing wrong with experimenting in your headline, especially with both kind of adjectives or a subjective description, right? Like when I say working wealthy, well, that could mean several things. But then the objective numbers, Brian, also includes, here's what that actually means: 750K to 5 mil, annual revenue. So I love it when I see content like that gives me both a description or a subjective just means we could interpret it lots of different ways, and objective, like here's the numbers, here's what's happening.
Yeah.
And when I talk about clarity, like that's the kind of stuff I want to see. I want to understand in a way that I could remove 100 IQ points from anyone looking at this, and they would still be able to go, oh, Henry does books for agency owners, or, oh, Brian works with the working wealthy, right? Like,
Right. Yeah. I love
that's very different than like business amplifier. Okay. Right. It's nothing wrong with that description. Unless you help me out a little more, I'm not going to know what that means.
And because of that, it won't resonate. Right.
Yeah. So I'll skip over it. I'll be like, oh yeah, that person. And then if you ask me to describe them a few minutes later, I'd be like, something about magnifying, that kind of thing. So I think Brian's a great example too of this bitch slap of truth concept. Let's go back and look at him for a second. So this banner is where we're choosing for him to put the bitch slap. So we want to shift your thinking. If you're the working wealthy, we want you to understand that if you still believe that taxes are a chore, an annual chore, you don't know yet that taxes are a wealth building tool, which is the working wealthy secret. Okay. So do you understand? Does it make sense that this is a bitch slap against kind of the common narrative?
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
So that when I say bitch slap,
Telling
that's
someone something
exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you're telling someone something that they did not already know. And a lot of times when you're talking about these higher end solutions, right, we're dealing with pretty educated,
Yes.
accomplished, successful people.
Yes.
It's even more important to be able to teach them something that they don't know.
Agreed. And keep in mind, I think one thing I call it extreme expert syndrome. The more we are expert at something, the more likely we are to fail at explaining something that our people absolutely don't know. Because to us, it's kind of like elementary level, right? Like it's like baby steps. And we want to say something that impresses, like I want to impress Jennifer Levy-Fry, my colleague, because she like knows a lot about this stuff. So I want her to think I'm impressive. Whereas instead of putting something together, like my poor target client, meanwhile, is asking the question, hey, are we supposed to use a business profile or a personal profile, right? Meanwhile, I'm 3 sheets to the wind down this sort of other rhetorical path because my extreme expert syndrome prevents me from understanding that even though my target client has a grad school education, that does not mean that, they've just been passionately studying LinkedIn for the last 6 years.
And
So
even
keep aware.
sometimes, even if it is kind of like a 101 level information, again, that's obvious to you, it's not obvious. Or if it has been, a lot of times what I notice again with like our sales trainings is that some of the most obvious things make the very best reminders.
Yeah, I
Right.
agree.
I just did a sales training for 94 salespeople from very seasoned to very new, and everyone else within that spectrum. And even the most seasoned salespeople were saying this was such a good reminder of the actual action steps that need to be taken. Because the more that they do, the less they get away from the basics.
Right,
It's like
right. That makes
learning the
sense.
foundation, right? The basics are so important. Let me ask you something. And by the way, you guys, if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat because I would love to get to them for you. We only have a couple minutes left. Ellen, you shared with us about, the number one thing we can do today with looking at our profiles. why do you think it's so important for you? This is really a question about you.
Okay.
Always talk about, others, and I love that. But for you, why is it so important for you to disrupt this space, to disrupt this conversation?
It makes me personally incredibly upset to see people spend, retirement funds, college funds, life savings, investing. Most of the people I work with are 35, 40, and older. So they earned money in some way, and then they came in to do their own business.
Mhm.
It makes me really sick to watch people work that hard who actually may be extremely talented at what they actually do, but just because they're not like professional digital marketers, or maybe they don't know, like not everyone again is studying every little nuance of what's happening. I just, and it makes me sick to think about people spending all that money and energy and not getting their 10x
Sure.
revenue result. I hate that. And I also have a lot of ill will towards some of our legacy uh, digital marketing experts who are still touting things that worked in 10 years ago when they came up and became famous. And those things do not work now. And these legacy experts either know and just don't care because they're going to get their bag, or they don't know, for which there is no excuse. And I won't name names, but let's just say like almost all the famous people that most people have read their book or done their program, a lot of those people are being incredibly irresponsible by that, oh, you can do it just like I did in 2009. No, no,
Mhm.
that really gets my goat. So I'll
Yeah,
just say that.
I love that. Um, you're so shy. Ellen. I
What's that?
said you're so shy
I
in
think you
your,
hit your mute, or I've hit my ear mute.
can you hear me? Are we getting, did I mute myself?
Oh,
Okay. Well,
all right.
let's,
Well, I'm going to entertain y'all with a number because I can't actually hear Jennifer.
let's move
Now I
on.
can. Now I
Okay,
can.
good, good, good. All right, sorry. I was saying how shy you are with your opinions. Which
Yes, I am. I'm very, very reserved with my
yes, quite. Um, we are going to put in the chat, you guys, how you can reach Ellen. So, Joe, if you want to throw that in there. We don't have any questions that are coming through, which I think just shows how incredibly thorough you were with everybody. But if there are any questions, guys, this is kind of your last shot. I would love to know what the biggest misconception is about LinkedIn and about like showing up authentically. Because we've talked a lot about authenticity, right?
Yeah,
What's the biggest misconception you think there is about what that means?
I think people feel they have to behave very differently on LinkedIn because of its extremely corporate atmosphere.
Yeah,
And LinkedIn, again, is the target audience of LinkedIn is not people like you and me. The target audience of LinkedIn is recruiters. So everything that happens there is designed for them. Um, and I don't mean that they don't care about us at all. I just mean we're not the bullseye target. So
right.
that creates this culture of LinkedIn that is very corporate sounding. And so as a result, people are very careful. They don't want to put anything out that might be too personal or feel like not safe for work or whatever. And I just think there's a middle ground between being appropriate in a business context and still being personal. Like you're never, ever, ever talking to a corporation on LinkedIn or anywhere else. It's a person with eyeballs and a heart, whoever that person is that you're trying to aim for, like that person isn't a corporation. They're a person.
Right.
And so I think it's that corporate backdrop based on how LinkedIn makes its money that influences people's behavior. And so they get less interesting. They kind of iron everything out and make it a little safer and make it a little less, oh, we can't say anything personal. this is my business profile or whatever. I think that's the biggest problem.
Yeah, I see that. And then I've seen also the pendulum go to the other side where people are oversharing things that are really like too,
Yeah, no, I don't agree with that either. But I mean, surely there's a
I
middle
think there is.
ground, right?
Yeah, for sure. I'm really curious to know what other platforms you love.
Um, I love YouTube and I love Patreon.
What's
So
it?
Patreon.
Patreon. I've not heard of this. Okay.
So Patreon is I think it's about 8 years old now. It's basically like a lot of people will have YouTube subscribers and then they will have a Patreon and or a Discord channel, which is a paid membership,
Okay.
like your most raving fans, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the combination we
Okay.
use.
Yeah.
I don't have anything against TikTok or Instagram or any of that stuff. I'm just not personally interested, but I do, for most of our clients, we do see a combination. So we'll start with that home base of LinkedIn, and then we will add in either YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, any of that other stuff. And please don't forget email marketing. And
Mhm.
if you're using some of this technique, you should be getting a 60% open rate on those emails. Like, and you can get that too. It just, again, you have to pay a little attention to subject lines.
Yeah. It's so true. And I think I'm just running through to see if they had any questions, which we don't. Um,
I would just want to comment on what Kiana said. I
yes.
believe if you share because it's related or relative to business, it's okay. But I've seen people so personal that it's changing the reason LinkedIn exists. I think like go to Facebook for that. I agree, Kiana.
Yeah.
Like I talk a lot on my LinkedIn about things like Kendrick Lamar at the halftime show. Is that explicitly related to business? No, but I'm using Kendrick Lamar to explain something about narrative. So it's related to work, right?
Well, I also heard something really interesting that I'll share with you all if you haven't heard this. But there is a theory out there that someone needs to spend 3 hours with you before they're comfortable buying from you. Now, they
That
could
could be
spend three
true.
hours with you. This could be one of the 3 hours, right?
That could be
Ideally,
true. Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. I'll look that up.
but
That's good to know.
it could also be spending, 30 minutes on your profiles. It could be
They
video.
could they could subscribe to our LinkedIn newsletter, which is called LinkedIn for the Top 1%. And we got some salty, sassy, fun stuff there every week. And we really go out of our way to make sure we give you information that you can do something with by dinner time. I'm not a fan of content that is sort of abstract. Like I don't like content that's like find a target audience. Well, screw that. Like how? How? Right? So I'd love for people to subscribe to that. If you have a business making 250K to 15 million, you are welcome to sign up for either a LinkedIn strategy audit or a bitch slap of truth messaging audit. You can come at it either way. So you can visit with me on Zoom and we'll take a look. And then we have our free gift. So those are
Yes.
all ways you can interact if you would like.
And we will link that as well in the notes. And let me grab that for you. Ellen, I appreciate you so much. Like this has been so phenomenal.
Well, thank you.
Every minute
So
I
much
get
fun.
is spend with you is valuable, but
Thank you. I
I've learned a lot and I've really beyond the profile, beyond the presence, really the way I post on LinkedIn is going to change. Because it's really less about strategy. It's more about alignment.
It really is. Don't get too worried about
Right.
it's not the most profitable in the long run. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm super excited and to
Oh
my
no. Did I freeze again?
no, nope, we can see you.
No.
All
I
right,
just
guys. Well, we're
I
clearly having
keep getting a
some
mute.
technical
I don't
difficulties.
know. Joey will tell me.
I don't know. You're good. You're good.
Okay.
Thank you everyone so much for being here. Ellen, you're amazing. Thank you guys. Please get with her if you want more information. Next week we're off. That's right, because I will be chasing 10-year-olds around Washington, D.C.
Woo-hoo!
The week after, we have Dave Ingram and Tom Shipper from Query on with us. And I'm super excited about that. Query is a SaaS platform that we've been working with for a long time now, and super excited for them to talk to you guys about your data and how to really use your data in a way that works for your business.
Sounds good.
Right? I love it. Okay, everybody, thank you so much and have the very best day. Bye, guys.